If you are interested in starting your own podcast, we use Buzzsprout because it is simple and easy to use. Buzzsprout can get your show listed on every major platform while giving you the resources for a great podcast website, audio players that can drop into other websites, detailed analytics to see how people are listening to your podcast, and tools to promote your episodes. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners, and that is why over 100,000 podcasters are already subscribed to Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. Following the link in our episode descriptions lets Buzzsprout know that we sent you. So in return, you will receive a $20 Amazon gift card from Buzzsprout while signing up for a paid plan. Most importantly, every subscription through our link is always appreciated and helps support our show so we can continue delivering the quality content that you guys listen to. That being said, back to the show.
Hello and welcome to Comic Book Junkies. I'm Andrew.
This is Joe.
And tonight we are coming with a very special review. This is your warning. Spoilers will be aplenty. If you haven't seen the movie, turn it off now and come back later. The Batman, starring Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, directed by Matt Reeves. This was a Batman movie. Was it a good Batman movie? I think CBJ says yes. I says yes. What do you say, Joe?
Not only did I enjoy Robert Pattinson's Batman, but I thought they did a great job with Catwoman, Penguin, and even the Riddler, even though that was like the character that they took the most creative liberties on. He probably was my favorite of the bunch, actually. But I do think the Alfred from the Dark Knight trilogy is better than the Alfred in this movie. So I'll start there.
I agree with you on that, actually. I mean, it's not like we've ever had really like a bad Alfred, but this was just kind of like more of a lackluster, like, I wanted a Master Bruce, like one of those Batmans. This guy, it seemed like he was a bit more hostile up front, which, they had their like little tension. Like they weren't just like, oh, good one, Alf, or, nothing like that. It was just kind of, it was just like two dudes cohabitating. It wasn't like there was no like male bonding or nothing, dude. It was weird. They didn't seem too tight for being.
They weren't tight at all. And I think they were doing that because this isn't an origin story for Batman, but it is a story of like the beginning of him in his career. And you can kind of see that he still has some maturing to do, both as Bruce Wayne and Batman. And the relationship he had with Alfred in this movie was, like you said, not so cohesive as it has been in the past. And, even Bruce kind of treated him pretty poorly. But in general, this interpretation of Alfred had a different vibe than everything previously. He didn't feel so much as a butler as he did somebody trying to help Batman be Batman. And outside of that, I felt Reeves did a good job of tailoring to like Pattinson's strengths as an actor. Robert Pattinson does a better job with like these like indie movies more so than the blockbusters, and this was kind of like a marriage between the two. I thought it made sense for Robert Pattinson to play kind of a freak, even though I enjoy the interpretation of him being like a playboy billionaire. Because he's an orphan and likes to keep out of the public eye, it makes more sense for him to be kind of off. So they did a good job of keeping it dark without going over the top. So I thought they did a great job of the overall tone. All the low-key shots, like the low-key lighting and keeping everything dark, kind of stayed true to the vibe of Gotham. So this may be my favorite live action interpretation of the city of Gotham. It would be between this and Tim Burton's Gotham. So I would give this a leg up over the Dark Knight trilogy as far as like the atmosphere goes, but I did like Tim Burton's Gotham too.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I really liked how dark it was. I mean, everything was just like a big pile of shit in the city, but it had like the Art Deco skyscrapers. It was pretty much like a hybrid of like New York and Detroit almost. You could see all the big high rises and you could see where like the rich people, had their fun. But then there's obviously most of it was in like disrepair, half finished buildings. It was just dark and dingy. And I agree with you. I mean, other than Burton's, I mean, they're probably kind of pretty close to tied for me because they give off a similar vibe, but just like a different tone of movie. I mean, the only thing that would have made it better is like obviously some like police blimps, kind of like the animated series, but it was kind of reminiscent of that, as it were. So I really liked all that. And kind of to go off of something you mentioned earlier, like the casting, I thought that the casting, not to, go too far back, I thought that the casting was like spot on for this take of the movie. I think that Matt Reeves really understood the vibe of the character. I mean, granted, good. Like you said, we like billionaire playboy, kind of like 60s, 70s, kind of like that kind of take rather than like he's always depressed and sad and doesn't have friends worth a shit. But that's something we've seen a lot of ever since like the 80s. And, going with that being the most popular iteration of Batman, especially nowadays, I think he, nailed it right on the head. Like you said, we got pretty much like a Zodiac killer Riddler. He wasn't really a dork with a derby hat and a lot like a green suit, but he did, he laid all the traps and riddles and everything like that, like you'd expect the Riddler to do. Really had to make him think outside the box. And playing into that, I really love that this was a detective movie rather than just like a pure action, like, oh, we got to find the bad guy ninja type deal. It's like, no, you really made Batman a detective. I mean, he originated in Detective Comics, and it's like we don't always see the detective side of Batman the way we used to. There's always plot armor and stuff like that, like Batman's invincible, but this isn't an invincible Batman. This is Young Gun, year 2 Batman.
That's what separates this from every other movie. I also love that they focused on the detective element of it. I thought that it helped keep it based in reality. But towards the end, I was kind of thinking, like, how many more stunts can the Riddler pull? Because, like, 2.5 hours into the movie, he was still pulling shit. I do have a reputation for falling asleep at movies, but I was getting a little burnt out towards the end. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I know. I was with you, dude. All the like piss was just like getting all stored up, and I was like, "Oh my god, he didn't figure it out yet." And I was like,
Right.
"Oh no." My bladder was so full. I was like, "Figure it out, Bruce. Goddamn."
You're right. This movie reminds me of the movie Seven in a lot of ways. Have you ever seen that, Burger?
No.
Okay. It was like Seven, but like told as a Batman story. So Paul Dano's Riddler continues to get compared to the Zodiac Killer, which I see definitely, but more so see influences of like Kevin Spacey's serial killer in Seven. And I
Just
say that
Kevin
because
Spacey.
I say that
Lurking.
both weird. I say that though because in the movie Seven, Kevin Spacey is responsible for killing 7 different people, each one representing the 7 deadly sins, and he would kill somebody that fits the description of that sin and would leave clues for the detectives that were played by like Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman. But anyways, that would give them clues as to who they would kill next, and the goal was for him to finally kill all 7 people. But strategically, he turns himself in early so that he can kind of complete his goal or whatever. But coincidentally, so did the Riddler. The Riddler did the exact same thing. So towards like the back half of the movie, the Riddler intentionally turns himself in and so that he can mess with Batman from like 4chan. But that's one of the things that didn't make sense to me actually, is what was the benefit of him getting locked up at that coffee shop? Like, why did he do that?
So he could watch everything unfurl. The incel army taking over to go shoot all the innocent people that were flooding. I mean, honestly, I'm not entirely sure.
Anyway, I did still really enjoy the take on Riddler and
Yeah.
felt that it was unique to all the other renditions that he's had in the past, but still comes off as like a passable Riddler. Earlier on in the movie, the Riddler wanted Batman to be on his side and taking out the wealthy elites. And considering that they're both orphans, I thought that was actually kind of cool. He almost had Batman lose his mind too when the Riddler convinced him that his dad was just as corrupt as Carmine Falcone, which I also thought was cool. The only thing I didn't like about that is like Batman's reaction to it. I know he's kind of new as Batman, but him just like spray painting the floor and like kind of trying to map things out. He's got all this technology, you know what I mean? I felt like
Itty.
he
Because
could
he
have
was
expressed it
downstairs.
differently, but
He was in the Batcave, like clicking a button to print pictures and stuff. I mean, that's one thing that I would kind of disagree with you with, is that this is kind of like, not in the animated series per se, but like that kind of mix of Gotham that you see that's like super modernistic, but also kind of reminiscent of like the 50s and shit. Is that he didn't have a bunch of technology at this point. Like he had a little computer down in the Batcave. He didn't really have shit going on. He had like a computer, but like inversely, he had those
eye
contact lenses.
contacts.
But
Yeah.
that was the only thing that was high tech. Everything else was a grappling hook. He had one computer in the basement. That's why he had the spray paint stuff. I mean, he had Alfred doing decoding with like pen and paper. I mean, he was just, a young gun. I mean, his car wasn't even finished. It had a sweet engine in it,
Real
turbo,
quick,
but
I got more to add to what we're talking about, but what did you think about the Batmobile?
It's the sickest one.
Interesting. I thought it
I
was the
fucking love
second sickest.
Well, I fucking love the Batmobile. I mean, if we're going off of like the Burton one, I mean,
I
that's
like
the
the
most
Burton
like
one.
it's the most classic, obviously.
Yeah,
But
this was
this, I
cool
don't
though.
know. It's a fucking muscle car, dude.
It's
And
like a souped up Mustang.
yeah, and he was whipping that thing around, dude. How about that chase scene with the penguin? That was sick.
I really liked that part. That
That
was one of the better parts in the movie.
that was
Although he didn't care about what he did to the traffic. You know what I mean? I'm sure all these people are dying left and right, and he's
he's
just
got
trying to
bigger
get to
fish
the
to fry,
penguin.
bro.
Yeah, he don't give a shit. He's just
That I mean,
trying to
that's
get the
true.
penguin.
It's Batman for you, bro.
Yeah.
Says we're gonna get his ass.
Yeah,
And
cook him.
how about that too? Is not only that like how sick that scene was because I love that Batmobile. This is slightly off topic, but you know, is the two of them going in together? How'd you feel about Commissioner Gordon and their teamwork like throughout the movie? I liked it.
I did like it.
I really liked this Commissioner Gordon. Was his name Jeffrey Wright? I thought that, you know, I really liked that he was always vouching for Batman, you know, bringing in the big costume freak around and all the other cops like, whoa, 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 what's this freak doing here? And he'd just stare at him all awkwardly and shit. But, you know, Gordon's like, no, 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 he's good. He's with me. And I like that, you know, only 2 years in that like Gordon's already sticking his neck out for Batman. Like, I don't know what happened prior to this for them to come to this understanding, but I'm glad that we see that traditional duo, you know, the cop that sides with the vigilante.
It's like a dog that knows when somebody's good or when somebody's bad. Gordon picks up on Batman immediately and he's like, I know that this dude's on my side because I'm a good guy too. That's kind of the vibe I got. And we usually don't see a lot of like cinematically like impressive scenes when like the two are together, but there was a scene where right before Batman punches him in the face where they're talking in that room kind of separate from the cops. I thought that was really cool and
Me too.
like a good relationship builder between the or establishing a chemistry between the two characters.
He says, why didn't you pull your punch? And he goes, I did. That was so cool.
I know.
I really, God, it's just like, even there was a lot of like aura per se, but you know, like the mood, like the setting, there was like an ambiance that they were building right from the get go. And like, how about like when Batman first showed up in costume, just the like sound of his boots walking out of the darkness? Wasn't that sick? Like, that was something I loved. Like, our first look at him, and then when he fucked up all those dudes on Halloween, that was sick.
Yeah,
Like,
when he's punching that guy, that was pretty cool.
yeah, just like when he this is kind of jumping ahead, but at the end, since we already talked about the Riddler's like incel gang, he got bucked up by like a close range shot with a gun. I mean, obviously this is like bulletproof Batman at this point, but you know, he's tossed up. When he hit himself with a stim shot and then got right up, started yelling and like started punching the shit out of this dude's face, like turning it into pudding. That was sick at the end when he was saving Catwoman.
Do you
Oh my
think
lord.
that was Venom?
Oh, probably. I mean, that's what I'm hearing people say online. So, I mean, it's probably a good tie-in, I guess. But I mean, I play Call of Duty like more often than one should. And I mean, there's stim shots and stuff like that. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's just like a regular adrenaline shot, but I mean, it was green. So, you know, who's to say?
Sure. Real quick, before we get further, there was something I wanted to go back to before I mentioned the Batmobile. The part that didn't make sense to me is I'm sure Riddler could have taken Falcone out by himself. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he needed Batman to follow all these clues in order to like expose him for that kill shot. And his goal seemed to like to take out like the corrupt elite, but once he kind of did away with the mayor and they got a replacement, and that mayor was trying to like pressure Bruce into like being more involved in the community, saying like that his parents were like philanthropists and he should be involved financially the same way. Like, he even tries to put the pressure on her, but it seemed like that kind of solved the problem. You know, you got rid of the problem, you promoted somebody else who's trying to make an actual change. And granted, I know that the Riddler's a villain, but it seemed like hiring the right person kind of solved that problem and or put things in the right direction. And was his mission really to take out the elite, or is he just nuts? And so I would have liked to have seen like a more clear vision there.
I felt like it was pretty clear. I felt like he was trying to, you know, obviously he's a psychopath for the means that he was doing it, but I think that his goal, like, he still was trying to achieve that. I mean, he felt like he was wrong because he was an orphan, you know, the bad system and all that. But I mean, everything was corrupt. Falcone ran everything he needed, and he is not physically imposing. He admitted admitted that himself. He's like, that's why we did it together. And he wanted Batman to help him. He thought he was helping him in a way, but Batman had to do all the, the hard work for him. Because what's the Riddler going to do to get rid of Falcone? Falcone runs half the cops, the mayor, pretty much everybody's on his payroll.
He flooded the whole city. I feel like he could have figured it out. You know what I mean? Like he had Batman stumped at every turn. Like you're telling me he can't just take out Carmine Falcone on his own. Maybe
No,
he
probably
wanted
not.
Batman's help. You know what I mean? But regardless, I felt like if that like was his mission, he could have done it.
Nah, he was too big of a puss. He was just smart.
Well,
How is he going to take any of those dudes in the gunfights? Because Falcone's always surrounded by a billion
you know
people.
that there was that scene where that car comes crashing through that like cathedral and Bruce Wayne looks up and like there's the silhouette of the Riddler there kind of watching over the situation. I'm pretty sure Carmine Falcone was in that building as well, and he could have just did away with it right then and there.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, though. That's a whole other thing.
Anyway, Robert Pattinson fighting in the costume always looked cool.
Yep.
I really liked when he went into the club as Batman, but
yeah, that was sick.
To your point, that chase with the Penguin was sweet too. I did think it was silly when they had Batman fly from that building in that sugar glider costume.
Yeah, he ate shit.
Yeah, that was weird. You could just see his head rumbling around, and I don't know. That was a funny interpretation of him gliding around, but it was innovative.
Yeah, I mean, he's a dude, and he was only 2 years in. I mean, what else is he supposed to do?
I don't know. It was just
he ain't
silly.
Superman, bro.
No, I know, but he was trying.
But how about Catwoman? How'd you feel about Catwoman?
I loved the chemistry between Batman and Catwoman. I think that was pretty spot on. I liked her better than Anne Hathaway's Catwoman.
Well, that's not hard.
Right. She may be my new favorite Catwoman.
Yeah.
The only thing that was missing is like I felt like she kind of fell for Batman way too soon. I feel like I didn't see like that same confidence in her that I saw in like Michelle Pfeiffer, for example, but it was still overall really impressive. I think she did things that the other renditions of the character failed to do. So it was just a completely different take, and I liked where their head was at with the character.
I felt like she was pretty accurate, and she was a bad bitch the whole time. She was all about getting her bag. She didn't really care about Batman's shit. She went along with it for her own personal, mission. And, even when they found Annika, her friend who got murdered, she still secured the bag and dipped the other way while Bruce went and chased the Penguin. So I felt like she was still pretty true to being a Catwoman in most facets. I mean, she did fall for Bruce kind of quick, which did lead to kind of a cool moment. Like when they were first staring at each other, they were like looking in each other's eyes. They're getting kind of close. She's like, oh man, he's about to kiss me. And you could just see him be like, looks good. And he was just checking out her eye contact, making sure it was in the right position. He's like, all right, let's go.
That's what I mean. Like the chemistry between the actors was phenomenal. Like it made scenes like that pop or come to life. But in that same breath, I kind of wanted to see her do a little bit more as Catwoman before they got to that point. But it's small gripe. I liked how towards the end of the movie, after the flood, that they kind of leave Gotham cut off and isolated so that it sets up more problems to fester within Gotham, which could be a really cool follow-up for not only like a sequel, but hopefully we see them explore some of that in like the Penguin TV show that they're working on. So that's something to be excited for, I think, too.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be excited for because they've already talked about it potentially having a sequel, possibly even a trilogy. And I've heard ideas ranging from, well, once they started talking about the Venom stuff, Bane, but I've heard more about, Mr. Freeze or the Court of Owls being included, which I think would be sick, especially with Robert Pattinson as the Batman, because I don't know, man, he ruled. I gotta say, the people who were naysayers and like wrote this movie off just because, he was in Twilight when he was a fucking young actor is so dumb, for lack of better words. It's just like, why?
I agree.
How you gotta be so close-minded about it? I mean, like, it's not like I ever watched one of those movies and, I thought the same exact thoughts y'all were all having, but it's like people grow. Dude's been in other movies and he's been fantastic. And then, just the direction that Matt Reeves was talking about when he signed on, it's like, that sounds like what I want out of a Batman movie. And honestly, this was a long ass film, but it hit pretty much everything I could want, without having to retread his origin story completely and do all that stuff.
What did you think about the scene where the Riddler is talking to the Joker?
I thought that was kind of weird weird. Like, of course, there's a Joker already in Arkham Asylum, and I don't want to see the Joker already, and I want to see something else go on because we always see the Joker.
I don't think
But
he will be the next villain if they decide to expand this into a trilogy. I think it would be a cool thing to touch on for like TV series spin-offs maybe, or if we get like more backstory as to how he made it into Arkham, like because this is Batman in his younger ages. And anyway, not sure if you caught it, but if I had to guess, my best guess for like what would be to come, you mentioned the Court of Owls. I'll touch on that a little bit and Freeze, but I thought that they're kind of giving hints towards Hush, especially with how involved the Riddler was in the Hush series. Also, the words Hush were written over a picture of Thomas Wayne, and they do make a reference to Tommy Elliott's dad. So if we do see him in a sequel, I think it would fit the vibe of how everything feels based in reality, more so than like a superhero universe. But in addition to that, the Riddler exposing Thomas Wayne as somebody that had relationships with Carmine Falcone could also tie into him attempting to save Hush's parents, which caused Tommy Elliott to become Hush in the first place. But the Court of Owls would make a lot of sense, again, because the Riddler had so much information on all of the Gotham crime bosses. I could see him somehow running into the court as like a source of information. But I also did hear rumors that the director is interested in using Freeze if he gets a trilogy.
yeah, those would all be cool. I'm down for Hush. I mean, it would definitely fit the vibe of what we just watched.
Is this your new favorite Batman? And is this your new favorite Batman movie?
Now that's tough because it was a long movie. I've been trying to like sit on it and let it like set in. And it's really hard to say because of just how much Batman we've gotten and how much Batman has been good. So it's kind of tough to like, obviously, recency bias is going to play in because obviously the shiny new Batman is going to propel up your ranks. But honestly, I'm feeling like it's probably top two. And I don't know if it's one or two for me. I think it's that and Michael Keaton in the original are kind of the two Batmen that I think are best. I'm not trying to be Mr. Spicy take here with the Christian Bale stuff. And I love the Christian Bale movies, don't get me wrong, but maybe it's just like how talked up they are that I don't agree with like it being the best. But also I just like the way that this Batman was. I mean, I liked that Bale was more of like a playboy Batman, billionaire playboy, at least to a degree, as where Pattinson wasn't. But I don't know. I just feel like the whole ambiance and the suit. I don't know, dude. That's really hard to say, but it's up there. Honest to God, it's really good in my opinion. I had high hopes coming into it, and it didn't let me down at all. How about for you?
Oh, I don't know.
It's better than Batfleck, though.
I don't think it's my favorite Batman movie. I would say my favorite Batman movie so far is either Michael Keaton's or Christian Bale's first Batman movie. And that's a hot take, too. It just felt very comic booky. But I do think that this has the potential to be my favorite Batman.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'll say because he's so young. It seems like there's so much room for development and growth with the character, and he already did such a good job. So it's not my favorite Batman movie. I think that as good as a job as Reeves did, I think he kind of almost not held him back from his potential, but I feel like this could potentially be the best Batman, and it's unrelated to like the quality of the movie. So the last thing I'll say before I get into my overview, did you see the post-credit scene? And if so, what are your thoughts?
Didn't see it. Where do you see that at? The guy at the theater told us there's nothing after.
It's after all the credits are done. It just there's a green question mark that pops up, and then that
Mm.
web browser pops back up.
Oh,
So I googled it. Apparently, it's like it's a website you can go to, and you know how Alfred was trying to crack that code. Like there's riddles on there that gives you more information to like crack his code or whatever to figure out more information as to what's coming moving forward. And if you get it all right, there's like some file you can download, and it just basically it's pictures of what Batman was looking at during the whole movie. I don't know.
oh, they had that website prior to the release, and I didn't give a fuck, and I certainly don't give a fuck now.
Yeah, I think it's too much work.
I don't care about any post-credit scenes for anything for that matter. matter. Once the movie's done, I'm getting up and pissing. You can call me less of a nerd all you want, but it doesn't make me less of a comic book fan because I don't want to sit through fucking 5 minutes of credits to watch one stupid scene that's going to be on YouTube and Twitter 10 hours later. No, thank you. And well, what's the matter? It's just going to be like a little preview of the next movie that's going to get a whole ass trailer in a few months, anyways. Sorry, nerds. I don't care.
See, I like to
Sorry.
ride the hype
I
train
don't.
just
I can
because
give a
it's like
fuck
it's
less.
only actually 5 minutes. I'm already there. But in this situation, it was a little lackluster.
Exactly. They typically are. Every time I stay for one, it's dumb as hell. And I'm like, well, we could have left 10 minutes ago. And so I've just written off, doing it. And I see all these fucking wide open, gaping mouths trying to catch flies, just like staring at me walk down the aisle and out the theater. And it's like, oh, how could he? He doesn't give a fuck,
You're the
does he?
type of dude to leave in the seventh inning of a baseball game so you can
I
be
leave when it's
Batman.
over, dude, because guess what? The seventh inning of the baseball game, there's still 2 innings left that actually are relevant to that baseball game I was attending. This has nothing to do with the movie I just saw, and I don't care because guess what? Some dorkwad on Twitter is going to post about it anyways. It's going to start trending, and I'm still going to be like, wow, that was stupid. Glad I didn't waste my time. Call me a cynic, but whatever, dude. Done wasting
Well,
my time.
lastly, what would you rate it?
Now, this has had a lot of thought, or I've had a lot of thoughts on this. So it's between two scores here. I can't decide if it's an 8.5 or a 9 out of 10 because it was one of the most enjoyable Batman films. I think if you're not already a Batman dork, which I mean, this is a good movie for non-comic book fans. So I think that like everybody's going to love this movie, whether they're already a Batman fan or not. I mean, I've seen some people say otherwise, but I wouldn't put it any worse than an average movie if you're not already a fan. So I think that, yeah, probably a 9 out of 10, honest to God. And I'll just go with that because I've probably ranked other stuff on my scale higher and I don't like it as much as this movie. I like this better than every Marvel movie that's come out in the past several years. So as comic book scale rating goes, this is legit. How about you?
I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. Something my fiance brought up because I watched it with her in the theaters and she kind of filled me in on the 10 or 15, 20 minutes I missed sleeping. Batman wasn't very intimidating. I know he's younger, but the characters were scared of him. Like you could see them running away from him. And so I thought they would have given like Pattinson more creative freedom, kind of like they did with like the Joker and Heath Ledger, because I feel like he is that good of an actor that he's capable of doing something like that. Just how we see like Kingpin and Daredevil, like his acting is what makes him intimidating. You know what I mean? It's nothing in specifically that they like tailor around him to make him intimidating. So like he's a good enough actor where I feel like they could have cut him a little more loose. But I know that Reeve kind of had like a pre idea of the character, but I do think it does deserve a trilogy. In this rendition, he starts off as Batman, so it's not an origin story, which I appreciated, but he's definitely still young and you can tell that the character is maturing so into becoming a superhero as opposed to like a person fighting crime in a costume. So I feel like that could be fleshed out over a trilogy, the same way Smallville was a story about how Clark becomes Superman, or like even Tom Holland's Spider-Man, how every movie it seems like he gets closer and closer to becoming Peter Parker. I think there's a big potential for that with this cast in particular. My biggest gripe is that none of the riddles were like remotely solvable by the audience, and I kind of wanted to be engaged that way. I wanted to try to kind of figure things out as Batman was figuring them out, but instead they just delivered it in a way where everything was figured out for us. The length of the movie didn't bother me because I'll watch 3 hours of Batman regardless. And I actually plan on watching it again when I get the chance because there's so many nuances to it that like you can't just watch it once and just like there's a lot to think about. And so I do want to rewatch it. But lastly, I thought it would be so much cooler if them introducing the Joker was like Joaquin Phoenix. I wanted to see a collaboration because I think that those two movies were trying to be like independent movies with these characters. And I feel like if they were going to introduce the Joker, which we don't need any more of, it should have been Joaquin. Granted, I don't know the
What?
specifics of like the copyright or
No.
but I think that would have been a lot more fitting.
No, that'd be a lot worse. That'd be shitty as fuck. I
Why?
I completely disagree because that he'd get his ass handed to him. Joaquin Phoenix Joker can't do shit except shoot a guy on TV. What's he gonna do?
I mean, Robert Pattinson's not Christian Bale either. You know
Robert
what I mean? Like,
Pattinson
he's
could.
not a tough Batman.
He was plenty tough. You must have been falling asleep again. What are you talking? You
No,
said he wasn't
he's so like
intimidating.
reality based. It wasn't like a superhero.
Oh,
Like he
brother.
said, he
Like
didn't have
Christian
all the
Bale's
gadgets.
was?
Like, yeah, he
Christian
was
Bale got
trained by the
broken in
League of
half.
Assassins. Like,
Oh,
you know
brother,
what
on
I
his
mean?
training
Like, he wasn't
montage.
like to the same strength as like Christian Bale's
No,
Batman, you know?
I
And
don't
so
agree.
I feel like that would have made a lot more sense
Hard
instead of
disagree.
somebody who we don't even know
Hard
just to throw another
disagree.
Joker at us.
Well, yeah, there should be because the fucking Joker from the Joker would not fit in against an actual Batman.
See, I think he
No,
would.
no. Whatever, dude. That's besides the point. That was crazy because we both have a very similar like result, but we have completely different algebra getting to this point because I disagreed with half of what you said while you were saying it in that last little spiel, and I'm not gonna argue about it because we'll just have a super long episode.
You fans tell us where you guys align with us because I felt like they're trying to make something a little more cinematically impressive. And I felt like that was like the direction that they were going to with the Joker instead of just making another superhero movie. And so, because they both gave off like independent vibes, it would have made a lot more sense to me anyway.
Interesting. And yeah, to the other fans who agree with me, just ignore whatever he just said because it doesn't make sense. And that's fine.
Well, we'll catch you in the comments, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll
At
see
us.
about that. Add us. Slide in our DMs. Who's right? Who's wrong? I know it's me. But that's our review. Let's not drag too long. I know what you guys are waiting for. You want to know what we're doing next time. We're going to go back to our bread and butter, baby. We're going to serve you up something nice. We're going to get back to a book review. What book are they reading? What could it possibly be? They've read so many classics already. Well, hold on to your pants. Captain America, Winter Soldier, Volume 1, the classic, Ed Brubaker. Whoa, no way they're doing it. Yeah, we are because Captain America rules. God bless America. We're going to see him kick some Nazi ass and, shit's about to go down. And we're more than pumped to read this for you. And
Captain America throws his mighty shield.
damn straight, he's going to chuck that thing as far as he can. It's going to hit someone and it's going to hurt them. And
And that's why you guys need to listen to that episode. So stay tuned.
later.